In order to successfully recreate complex natural effects like the dielectrics we talked about, you need to understand how things work in real life. So it's very important to find good references so that you can look at and understand what's going on and what looks real. Now, there is one little gotcha in the whole situation, especially when it comes to these very complex effects. And it's caused by what we call context bias. That is a natural tendency of humans to bias towards the direction they think they know something about, the context of what they're presented with. And let me give you an example. If you show someone a photograph of something and tell them that, oh, this is a 3D rendering, you will find that more often people will find things that are wrong with that image, especially if it's some sort of weird effect that's happening with the light, some reflection or something like that. On the contrary, you could show them something which is rendered and tell them that it's a photograph, and they will justify what they seem as wrong, but they may say things like, oh, it looks odd, or, look at the intricacies of nature, how it makes something look so illustrative and all that. But this bias exists, and actually I've run an experiment in the past. I've done some experiments on humans, benign experiments, and I would actually do that. I would present a photo, a very stylized photo of something, as if it were rendered. And I would see that very often people will tell me that, oh yeah, that's why this reflection is like this and this doesn't work like that in real life and so forth. When in fact, these were real photos, and the opposite. Now, why did I say all this? Well, we're going to look at some references, images from the interwebs, so that we can see how things react, how a glass that has a cool liquid inside, how the condensation looks, and how droplets are formed. And some of these effects you're going to see, which are photos, are going to look quite odd. And in these particular cases, it's advised that you don't use something, regardless if it's real, if that has some oddity that may be perceived as an error. So let's take a look at some of these photos and I'll explain to you exactly what I mean. So in my favorite search engine, I'm searching for wine glass cold, and I've set the images to be large. So this is one of the first ones that come up. Let me click on this, and I'm going to right click and say open image in new tab so I can get the full resolution. So let's check this out. Now, this is obviously a photo, but the funny thing is that this looks more like a lime. And I'm pretty convinced that this is not some sort of fake image, but I wouldn't use this as a direct reference. I would use it to understand some of the properties of the droplets and the condensation under very specific conditions of humidity and coolness. For example, that as you can see here, the condensation is higher than the actual liquid because the glass is a bit colder here rather than up here. So that's a good reference for that. But if I made a render that looked like this, everyone would say that this is a lemon or lime. So let's go back here and look at some more photos. Now let's check this one out. And again, let me right click and go and open image in new tab. So here it is. And you can see, again, it looks a bit odd, but now I'm getting a bit more information. You can see that the droplets are not all round because the water, the droplets that are next to each other, they do happen to merge and create these odd shaped droplets. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger with some combination of buttons. I think I can press Command plus and go a bit further in, and you can see that we don't have many round droplets here. Here they seem a bit more round, but here they don't. Let's go and see another one now. Let me close this, And let's scroll down here. There you go. This one looks interesting. Now let me right click and open a new tab, and let's bring this to the front. So this is more interesting because I'm getting a range of effects here. I'm getting the condensation, which seems to be uneven. So this glass was tilted or something like that, or there's an ice cube on this side. Something like that's going on. You can see the ice cubes behind here. The other thing I can see is that there's some of the droplets have actually run down here. That's an interesting feature. I may add it. We have those odd shapes. Some of them are a bit more round, some of them are a bit more long. Here we can see they're a bit more rounded. So overall, by going through these images and deciding which ones are a bit too extreme and which ones are okay to give us an understanding of how the effect works, I can start choosing different ways of recreating this and creating my own beautiful stylized render that has all of the correct features but doesn't look fake. Another observation would be that inside here this looks too busy, especially if you're doing a commercial product. You don't want the busyness of the environment to be part of your image unless that is the requirement. So let's make this smaller and see what's happening around here. You can see that the background is fairly simple. It's blurred out, but there's a lot going on in here. And I want to avoid that in my own render. And let's look at one final image. Let's go back here and let's close this and let's find something a bit more stylized. Let's go down here. I think this one is a perfect example. Right click and open image, new tab. Let's go and open it and take a look at this. Click my little buttons. Now you can see a few more features. One of them is that the glass is obviously not very smooth. Also, there's some liquid on the inside, just in case I want to reproduce this particular feature. The bump itself is very, very important because we tend to think that glass is extremely smooth, but actually it does have bumps, and even the lip is uneven. The way the glasses are made makes it uneven in certain places. And even the density, even inside here, you may find that certain features show that the glass is not absolutely symmetric or isn't absolutely straight. And adding all those details in your product shots will make them look a bit more realistic. In terms of droplets here, we can see that we have some which are a bit more elongated. And here you can't really see them. So I'm going to go between a situation like this, where we can't see the droplets, at least not very clear, which is condensation in an environment that doesn't have much humidity. We're not going to get a lot of droplets created. And I want to have a few droplets, some of them running down here and a few round ones up here. And let's assume that you spend more than 3 minutes looking at references and you do your homework and you look at these images in detail and make your notes. Now, in the next video, we're going to start setting up layer by layer all these effects so that we can produce our final beautiful render.